to Live to Tell, the podcast where my friends and I come together to shoot the shit and share stories of triumph and failure. I'm your host, Karl Veal, and I'm excited to share some of my experiences and eager to learn some of yours. This is a no judgment zone because after all, we all have a story to tell. In the summer of 1993, a 14-year-old girl was arrested for murder. She was then found guilty in May of 1994, sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole November 13th, 1995. She was 17 years old at that time. I was 15 years old. I'm now 40, and we are about to have a conversation for the very first time about these events and the events that led up to this event. Her name is Ruthann Veal, and she's also my sister. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm still getting over this COVID, but I'm good.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for asking me to attend it.
Absolutely. All right. So first of all, I know you very well, so I really want your story to be about like strength and overcoming hurdles. So I don't want you to cry a lot.
Okay.
So try your best not to cry, okay?
Okay.
All right. So first question, what is your earliest memory from your childhood?
Oh, Karl. Only things that I remember. You want good things or bad things?
Good or bad? The first, like the earliest, when you think that you were the youngest.
When we were young, I just remember us living in a red house
in Clear Lake. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember us jumping on potato sacks down a hill and us playing there.
How old do you think you were?
I don't remember how old we were there. I think we were probably about five. I was probably about maybe 5 or 6 or 7, something like that. We were young.
We were young, for sure. So if you had to describe your childhood in one word, what would you use? What word would you use?
Shitty.
Shitty?
Fucked up. We had a fucked up childhood. Sorry for cussing, but
no, it's okay. We can cuss on the show.
That's what it was.
So describe shitty. Like, I know what you're talking about because I obviously lived it too, but what is your first memory of like realizing that our childhood wasn't normal?
Being called niggers by our mother.
Yeah.
Black piece of shit. Waking us up out of our sleep, beating us for no reason. We did nothing. Her always yelling at us, never telling us we did anything right. Yeah. Her screaming all the time. She never talked. She didn't hug us.
So you want to talk about mom specifically right away?
Yeah, because that's what I remember the most of is the hell we went through. I don't remember good times. The only good time I remember, a good thing that I remember mom doing with us was taking us bowling.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I don't remember her ever being loving or that acted like she cared. I don't remember anything.
I remember like waking up like when we were young, like in the White House, the one that was by Hardee's.
Yeah, it's on 6th Street.
Yeah, I remember waking up there and like there would never be anywhere to sleep because mom always had one of her friends like drunk, passed out on the couch or in our rooms on our beds, and there was like nowhere to lay down. So we'd always have to leave the house and go find something to do.
Yeah, because somebody was in our house, or when Uncle Terry came to live with us, or Uncle Dave. Yeah, I remember that.
So what would you say is the first time that you remember like mom hitting you?
Oh, I remember mom hitting me all the time because I had to watch you guys a lot because I was the oldest. So I remember having to babysit. I remember when she would come in drunk and she just want to use us as a punching bag. I remember taking a lot of them ass whoopings so you guys wouldn't get hit.
Yeah, I remember that too. You were always like a lot stronger than us.
Yeah, because I had to to watch you guys. I had to protect you guys. Um,
So what was that
yeah,
like being young and like having to go to school and like see other people who you think don't have these same issues and like not being able to talk about it and like holding that in?
I was able to take out my aggression at school. I became the school bully. I remember that, and I was always getting in trouble for fighting or missing school or whatever because I started running the streets when I wasn't at school. But I really liked school because I was a safe place away from home.
Yeah, I hated school.
I know you hated school. You hated school because people were bullying you, and I'd always have to fight people for messing with you.
Yeah, I remember anytime someone would talk shit to me, I'd say, "You just hold on right here and let me go get my sister and then we'll talk about this."
Yeah, and I'd have to fight them. I remember that. And I remember getting kicked out of school for fighting for you.
So, do you think that us growing up in the way that we did like affected like our schooling and like things that we could have learned and like progressed on?
Well, you turned out pretty good.
But
I,
I'm 40 now, so I've had a long
yeah,
time to like deal with my shit, and we all deal with it in different ways. So I'm just asking your perspective on it.
ask that question again.
So, do you think the way that we grew up like affected the way that we were able to learn at school and to like progress like to like a higher
I,
level?
I think it affected the way that we communicate with people. You know,
Yeah.
I think it has a big deal as the way that we perceive things because somebody can be talking to me normally and they can say something that will remind me of mom and I'm instantly irritated. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
they did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I feel like that too. I feel like if there's even like an ounce of disrespect that hear coming from someone, I will like serve them so hard, like in the moment. And then when you think back on it, you're
Absolutely.
like, man, I shouldn't have gone off like that.
Yeah, you shouldn't have responded like that. Yeah, you think about it afterwards, but in that moment, you're triggered.
Yeah.
So I feel like our childhood and our mother has still a big impact on the way that we respond to people in the world today.
And do you think that people like understand that about other people or like take the time to understand that? Like that
I I don't. I feel like a lot of people have had a good upbringing, so they don't understand or they can't even empathize with our situation because they grew up a different way. You know, so they can't relate or they can't put themselves in our shoes to know the pain that we went through.
and do you think that we do that too to other people? Like people from our family do that to other people?
Absolutely. I know I do it because I feel like there's no sense for me to sit there and explain myself because they're not going to understand and they're not going to give two fucks either way. So what's the sense of wasting my breath?
And we kind of learned that at a really young age too, huh? Like whenever we like reached out for help, there was really no one there to like really help us. They heard our story, but there wasn't really an
No,
option for us except for to stay
DHS
at
didn't
home.
even help us. No one helped us. When we called, did I call social services? Remember when we called social services?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So what happened? Tell the story.
Well, I would call it because I was tired of getting beat and I wanted them to take us out of that house. But mom was so conniving and manipulative that she would buy the other kids presents and stuff to tell the social worker that it wasn't true. So then I would look like a liar. And vice versa. I remember you calling a couple times.
I
And she would
remember like
finally buy.
I remember being like 3 or 4 years old, and I remember learning like driving by like the police station, and I remember like remembering trying to remember the way there from our house. So like we're driving back home, we're driving down like State Street. And our house, remember
Yeah,
on Elm Street, it wasn't you just take State Street all the way down and then you go left and then it's just like a block down from there. So I remember like
yeah,
learning how to get there from our house. And I remember one time mom was beating me at that house. God, I had to have been like 3 or 4, maybe 5. And I ran all the way to the police station and they ended up taking me to Flies. I don't know what it's called now. Francis Lauer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember I think I was like 5. So I remember being there, and they're like, okay, well, you either stay here or you can go back home. And you look around, and there's a bunch of strange kids that you don't know, and you're locked in this place. So it's like, of course, I'd rather go home. But isn't that kind of weird how that is like a better situation for you, but you still want to go home?
Yeah, because you didn't want to be locked up. See, I got locked up more than you, Carl. So I understand, like, as much as you want out of that house, that was your normal.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you just wanted to be out of the house, but yet you didn't want to be away from your family.
Yeah, I wanted
So,
like the beating to stop, but I still love my family and wanted to be with my family.
yeah.
But I do remember when you got sent away to Forest Ridge and you came home for a visit, and I was like super excited to see you and everything, and you came home, and then remember you were like asking me to come to the bus station with you, and I was like, no, because I was like so mad that you were leaving. So I didn't come to the bus station to send you off.
I know you hurt my feelings that day, and I didn't understand why you wouldn't come
I was just
to tell
angry.
me why, because I was leaving.
Yeah, because you were my best friend when we were growing up.
I know.
So
I know.
what's your memories about being in Forest Ridge, which is
Um,
like a shelter, like home for kids, right?
well, I was there twice as a group home.
Mm-hmm.
I was there in '92, and I was there in '93, right before I got discharged. Um, the first time I hated it, and I didn't utilize any of the programs there. I was just so angry. But I was only there for 2 or 3 months that time, so I wasn't there that long. When
Right.
I went back then time, I was there for 6 months, and it was pretty good. I mean, they had a lot of uh, ways to help you per se. Like they really cared, you know what I'm saying? And then I got away from mom. I was getting older, and I was just tired of it. I couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
So, but it was nice when dad would come down and go fishing with me and stuff.
Yeah, because there's the big lake right there.
And yeah, dad would take me fishing. That made me happy.
So the second time you really felt like you were getting help and you were learning tools to like help you erase.
Absolutely. Here's the kicker. After you get all the help that you need there and you're doing good and you're blossoming, they just send you back into that unhealthy environment. Instead of placing me somewhere else, they sent me back home. Anytime I got locked up, they knew what was going on at home. They knew I was being beat. They knew what my mom was calling me. They knew what I was going through. Yet they would put me back in that environment, which is so crazy.
That is crazy to think about.
Yes.
And it's crazy to live through. It's crazy to live through
Yeah.
because I don't think people will understand. What would you say, like, if you were a doctor, like, what would you prescribe mom as being?
I feel like mom is bipolar, and I feel like she has dual personality.
Yes, like a
I
public personality and then a personality at home.
Yes, because when she's in front of people, she's very polite. She's nice. She talks to them with respect, like she has sense, and she'll talk to us. If company's around, she's nice to us then.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as that door closes and that's all away, her mouth is so vicious. You wouldn't even know we were her kids the way she talks to us.
Right.
I'm
And
42 years old, and mom will still talk to me crazy and say crazy shit that she should not say.
yes, when mom says that, even now being 40, like my gut will like tense up, and it just takes me back
Yes,
to being a kid.
but here's the thing, bro. Like I used to, even in prison, I would take her shit just so I can see you guys, because that was the only way I could see you.
Yeah, mom's manipulative like that.
Yes. So I had to endure her verbal abuse through that phone and letters so I can see you.
Right.
And even if dad was willing to bring you, Mom threatened to call the cops.
On
He
dad.
had to be in control.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I felt like I had to kiss her ass in order to see you and to see my father.
Well, remember we talked a little bit like a couple of weeks ago, like how there might be some kind of like mental disorder in our family on mom's side.
Yeah, I do feel that way.
And do you think that got passed down to us at all?
I feel like we got a lot of it as triggers from being beat, that we have the problems that we have. I don't know. I'm not a freaking psychologist. I don't know if we did get something from her. I feel like we got our issues from being beat.
I always think about
I
that
know.
though. I'm like, because when you're crazy or like bipolar or something, I don't think that you know that. So you learn that about it, and then you're like, holy shit, am I fucking bipolar, or did something get passed down to me that I had no
Yeah.
idea about?
Yeah, but to get mom to go see a therapist is like breaking a freaking arm and a leg. She don't even like to go to the doctor to see what the hell's wrong with her health.
Yeah.
But
All right. Well,
sometimes mom's the
no, go ahead.
sweetest person to us. She
Yeah,
can be the sweetest person sometimes and talk to us like she loves us. But as soon
absolutely.
as we do something that she disagrees with or that she wouldn't do, it changes. And no, now don't get me wrong, Carl. I know mom endured a lot of stuff because of dad.
Right.
Dad was cheating on her. Dad was beating her.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't have to do us the way she did it.
Do you think it was because mom was so young?
I believe mom was real young. Mom was 17 when she had me. And being that dad was 24 years older than her, you
Mhm.
know, that's a big age gap.
That's a huge age gap.
And yeah, and I do feel like mom learned to be racist from grandpa
Right.
because grandpa was very racist.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how it was, even to go over there for holidays and stuff. It was an uncomfortable situation. And you know how he would just put us off to the side. Remember those TV things, some fold out things?
Yeah, the TV dinner things.
Yeah, and he would just send us away, you know, like we couldn't sit at the table.
Mm-hmm.
You don't remember that?
No, I remember that. I was going to ask you that. Like, how was it for you, in your perspective, growing up, like being black? We weren't full black; we were half black, but like growing up like that in Iowa.
Well, I can think nothing of it. You know, growing up, you're a kid, you don't see color,
Right.
you know, but as you get older, then you start understanding what's going on.
Do you feel like
But
you got treated
there was,
differently from our only family was white? We didn't hang with dad's family. We didn't know dad's family at all, so we were just
no,
stuck with mom's
I
family.
still don't know family. You know that, maybe know some people. I don't know nobody.
Right.
But yeah, like mom beat me so much. There was a period of time I couldn't stand white people because of how she treated me.
Right.
And I don't know if you ever got to that point, but I know I did.
You just like look at
I
people
wouldn't
like they hate you because that's all we've gotten during our childhood.
right.
So you think
And I
like
wouldn't even
everybody
call
looks at you like that?
Right, exactly. You're right, bro. But I don't even know if you remember. There were sometimes I wouldn't even call mom. I called her Leanne.
Yeah, I called her that too. And I remember hanging out at Elaine and Courtney's house all the time, and I would always call Elaine mom instead of mom.
I know it's like you look for mother figures in other people because all you wanted to do was be loved and treated good and act like you mattered.
Right. So that's a good point too. Like, so while you're growing up, we're getting in trouble. Both of us are. What are you searching for?
To feel like you matter, like somebody cares, that loves you, and that you're doing something right, and that they're proud of you.
Right.
You remember me collecting? You don't remember me collecting cans and having a paper and stuff?
Yeah.
And you remember me taking you to the movies or the arcade, or I would always spend my money on you guys. Whatever I could get, I would spend on you. But I'd also spend my money on sports, and I became really involved with sports. You remember that?
Yeah. You were really good at basketball.
Yeah, I was good at basketball. I was good at softball. I was good at track, volleyball.
So
But
when
you think
did all that stop?
It stopped because it didn't matter. Mom never once came to any of my games. She couldn't come to my school events. If she did, it was horrible. She's embarrassing. The only birthday party I remember ever having, I had to clean the whole basement when we lived on 6th Street and use my birthday money to supply the food and stuff we had, and Mom wrecked it. Don't you remember that?
Oh yeah.
So no, it didn't matter me being good, me being on the honor roll, because I was good. I was good in school,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing I did was good enough to make her stop hitting us and stop calling us names and screaming at us.
So when did you start like acting out like physically against other people just because of that's what we knew?
Oh, probably when I was 12.
Do you remember that fight?
Oh, I don't remember that lot. I remember cutting my wrist in front of Mom. Mom told me to go ahead and do it and kill myself right after I got in some trouble. And then she just started beating me. You don't remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you were home.
I remember pretty much everything. I remember the highlights. There's a lot of stuff that I don't remember because I've taken a lot of drugs. But
that saddens me that you started taking drugs.
Well, I think it was purposeful because I just wanted to forget of everything from the past, and try to erase it or hide it, anything I could just to like feel normal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but we don't even know what's normal.
Yeah, so we don't
But
even...
I know what ain't normal is us growing up the way the fuck we did.
Right. So what happened after the first fight? You got in a fight with Mom? Did anything happen at school?
Oh, I'd always get in trouble at school. I'm getting expelled from school for fighting, throwing shit at the principal.
What was that vice principal's name from Roosevelt? We used to give him so much shit. He hated us.
What school?
Roosevelt. Roosevelt Middle School. Remember, he had like white hair and glasses.
Yeah.
He was he was the vice president. Yes. Oh my God. Do you know, that's the one thing that I got from Mom and living through this shit was a nasty ass tongue. Like no one can say shit to me, and I will get you with my tongue. I'll get you with my words.
Yeah. I know, bro. I'm the same way. We got to work on that because it's not other people's fault what happened to us.
That's very true, but I'm kind of proud of that trait. I'm glad to have it, but I do need to like take it down a notch.
Me too, bro.
Okay, so let's talk about Roosevelt. I think that's my best memories that I had, at least that I can remember, as because we had the river right by our house and the school wasn't that far. It was close enough for us to walk and shit, right?
Oh, don't you remember us going to the nature center on the trail?
Yeah, I remember that. And taking that moped on there.
Yeah, and we would cross the river, like we would go walk across the river and we'd go. I remember that. We had so much fun. And then we'd make forts.
Yes. We'd always have to be outside though, right? Because there was always somebody in our house.
I know. We would always have to be outside, but me and you always found things to do.
So, of course, I'm your favorite sibling then, right?
You are my favorite. You've always been my favorite.
What do you think our younger siblings went through? Like, I know Shelby had it the easiest because she's the youngest.
Yeah, I was about to say, Shelby, even though Shelby had it fucked up, she feels like she had it gravy compared to what happened to us.
Mm-hmm. Shelby was so cute when she was a baby.
She was a cute baby.
I used to take her with me everywhere. I'd take her to my friend's house with me.
You remember me running away with her? I took her diaper bag, everything, and ran away.
Are you thinking about Crystal or Shelby?
Oh, Crystal. It was Crystal.
Yes, you're thinking about Crystal. Oh, Crystal is such a cute baby, too. Remember we used to dress her up?
Yeah, we used to play with her and dress her up and then take pictures of her. Yeah. She was the cutest baby.
And Peter was a good kid. He was a really good kid.
Pete was an amazing kid.
I remember that. Like, yeah. I remember him always, like, just being a good kid. But me and him would fight all the time.
Because Pete was always doing something. He was hyper. Pete was very hyper.
Yeah, he was very hyper.
But he was still a good kid. He was funny as fuck, though.
So, do you think they had it a little bit better than we did? Shelby for sure
No,
did.
I don't feel like they did. I don't. I feel like only Shelby did. I don't feel. I feel like they got the same thing that we got.
When do you think that mom and dad learned their lesson then, like after Crystal?
No, I feel like you guys started to get it better right after I got in trouble when I committed my crime.
We'll get into that later. So how do you feel about that? Like how do you feel about um us us younger kids maybe getting like a little bit better of a life than you did? Like how does that make you feel?
And it didn't bother me when I got locked up. I used to say, if it took me to sacrifice myself for you guys to get a better life, then it was worth it.
That's a good answer.
That's what I. That's what I. That's what. And a good answer. That's what I used to tell myself at night. And I used to tell God that, and I'm like, God, if this is what I have to go through for the rest of my life for my siblings to get treated better, then I will accept it. And that's what I'd say.
Oh, yeah. That's yeah, that was tough. Really tough. So, let's go back to I think you were 15 years old and I was 13 years old. You were in that shelter in Waterloo, and you wake up one day and you see that I'm also there. So first of all,
Oh,
why
I was
why
so
were you there? Wait, why were you there? And then what was your first reaction when you found out I was there?
I was arrested for first degree murder, and I got sent to the detention center before they waived me to adult court. And I had woke up one morning and they had this board with people's names, and there's not too many people named Karl. So when
With a
I
K especially, right?
right, there's not too many people with that name. So, but they don't put your last name; they just put your first name. And I'm like, I remember telling Howard, I remember this vividly. I was like, Howard, that better not be my brother in the breakfast hall when I walk in, because I'm not going to be happy when I go in.
What
And
did
he
he
just
say?
looked down. He just looked down. So I remember walking in there. He started yelling at you, asking you what you were doing, and your response to me was, "At least I can see you every day." That hit me like a ton of bricks and made me feel like a piece of shit because all you wanted to do was see me.
Well, I didn't get in trouble to come and see you, but I was really excited to know that I was going there because I would see you all the time.
I know.
You
You were happy, and
warmed up after like a day. You were like, "All right, we get to hang out."
yeah, because I didn't want you there. I didn't want you to have to go through that.
I never remember like feeling scared like in places like that. I never felt like scared.
No, you don't feel. You feel safe there.
Isn't that's a crazy thing to think about, right?
I know.
Because you're being sent there like for punishment, but it doesn't necessarily feel like a punishment because you get food. You don't have to worry about food, and you get to hang out with
Yeah, it
friends.
wasn't. You didn't have to worry about nobody beating you. You didn't have to worry about being called names. You didn't have to worry about screamed at for no reason. So it wasn't a punishment to us.
Right. Like to other people that would go into that kind of situation, that would probably scare the fuck out of them. But we weren't
Yeah,
scared.
but we embraced it.
Right.
Shit, we didn't have to get our ass beat anymore.
Okay, so let's go to the fateful day when you were at the shelter. I think this was a different time, like maybe like a year before or so. And you were at the shelter in Waterloo and you figured out how to break out and you left. So what was
Man, I forgot about
yeah,
how. I don't remember how
do you
I
remember
was able to
leaving?
get. I don't remember leaving that shelter,
You don't
but
remember how you got out
I
of there?
no, I don't remember how I got out, but I got the fuck out of there. They caught me though.
Yeah, they did get you.
Yeah, because I had called you.
Yeah, I remember you calling. I do remember you
Yeah,
calling. And
you
then
know, not too many people were able to leave that shelter, but
that place
I managed.
you are a rock star for that because that place is like locked up. That's like a fortress for kids.
Yeah, but I got out of there.
Okay, so what were you thinking after you left? Like you're running, it's like way out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing but cornfields and like farmhouses.
I was trying to get somewhere so I can just have fun. I wanted to run the street.
So you were trying to get to Waterloo because you had friends in Waterloo, right?
Yeah, I had friends in Waterloo.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't believe you remember that. Hell, I didn't remember I did that.
Yes, I remember that. There's been like so many situations that my mind remembers, but there's others where people will tell me shit and I'm just like, I do not remember that.
Right.
So I either have a really good memory or a really bad memory at times. So,
I
okay.
understand.
So you ran away, you're in Waterloo. Uh we're getting to the case now. Are you okay with that?
I'll talk to you a little bit about it.
Yeah, anything that you don't feel comfortable talking about, you just let me know and we'll move on to something else. So
Okay.
you're on the run. Uh Obviously you're scared. You're probably hungry, you're looking for food, you're embarrassed, you don't want to tell your friends that you're on the run, or maybe you do want to tell your friends, I don't know. But you stumble upon a house and I'll let you go from there.
Well, I don't really want to talk about the events of that day
Okay.
out of respect for my victim's daughter. I don't want to put her, you know what I mean, in a bad
No,
position or
absolutely.
personal, a certain way. But I will talk about beforehand.
Yes.
I was staying at a friend's house, and she thought I was sleeping with her boyfriend, and I wasn't sleeping with her boyfriend. But she kicked me out the house and said she was calling the police on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember running to Burns Park in there, and the cop tried to stop me, and I ran away from the cop and just hid behind a house until it got dark.
Because you were on
And
the
I
run,
remember
right?
walking. Yeah, I was on the run from Quakerdale,
Yeah.
which they're so stupid because here I am with fucking 3 or 4 bags of clothes and my caboodle, and you're letting me go to school like that. That's me telling you
Yes, I'm
you
leaving
know.
right now.
But I blame mom for the reason why I ran that day because I had earned a pass to go home to see Uncle Terry's gravesite.
Mm-hmm.
It was Memorial Day. And she said she would not come get me. So I was like, well, Dad will come get me. She's like, if your dad comes to get you, I'm calling the cops. So that pissed me off because I was doing good in that program. I wasn't even trying to leave or do anything stupid, you know?
Right.
But she's the reason why I left.
So where did you go after Quakerdale? You went to your friend's house, you were saying?
Yeah, I went to a couple friends' house. I got kicked out of one of my friends' house because their mom found out I was on the run, and that's how what led me at Annette's house.
And then she thought you were sleeping with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get away from the cops, and then what happens?
I remember when it got dark and I just walk in and I see a light on at the house and I knocked and I asked to use the phone and I couldn't find nobody to come get me. I remember that.
Yeah. So we'll move on from that. We'll just leave it right there. I just wanted to know, like, what your memories were, like, beforehand. Like, what were you thinking? Like, what was your mindset? But we'll stop it.
Before this,
Yeah, before that happened. We don't have to go into the actual event. I just want to know, like, were you scared? Were you just like, what was your mind? Like, what were you going through?
well, I didn't want to be at home. If I wanted to be at home, it was only because I wanted to be around my siblings.
Right.
My mindset at that time, Carl, was I wanted to run them streets because I felt like people loved me more in them streets than I was loved at home, and I had more respect on them streets.
Yes. Like you were a person
Um,
on the streets.
yes, and I could laugh, I could have fun, I could be me. I didn't have to be on edge and tense all fucking day and worry about what's gonna happen, and I could sleep in peace and not have to worry about if my sleep's gonna get interrupted or if I'm gonna get beat.
Right. So your mindset at the time was, these are my people. Like, these are my friends. Like this is where I belong.
Yeah,
And
I felt like I belonged more. I belonged in more on the streets in this freaking world than I did at my own house. Because mom made me feel like she wanted to abort me. She wishes I was never born. Like she hated me.
I felt like she was like that to all of us. And you know what? I feel like our half brothers and sisters got it a lot worse from mom than we did.
Probably I feel like mom was hated that she was taking care of them because of dad.
Yeah, I feel like mom hated Carrie and Junior. Like she was. I feel like she was never like supportive of them at all. And any opportunity that she got to talk down about them, she would. And she'd do it in front of us,
She
and we were
would.
just little kids.
Yeah, and anytime that something would happen in the house, she blamed them
Hmm.
for what we did, and it wasn't even them.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about after the event happened, which ended up being like a first degree murder charge. What was your mindset after you first got arrested? And what were you doing? Like
And that's
the next day after the event happened, like what were you doing?
well, I remember when the police came and got me at this house. I was drinking a beer, and these cars pull up, and they asked me if I was Ruthann Veal, and I said no, I was Carrie Veal. I always said whenever I got in trouble, I said I was my sister.
I used Peter's name once.
Yeah. So I started running from them, and they tackled me, and then they took me to this holding place in Cedar Rapids, and then they transported me to Waterloo, and they're questioning me. Well, before they questioned me, they called mom, and I
Hmm.
remember mom coming in my cell, and she's crying. I said, "What the fuck are you crying for?" I'll never forget this, Karl. Yeah, I looked at her. I said, "What the fuck are you crying for? You don't give two fucks about me." And she just kept crying and crying. I said, "Get the fuck out of here. You hate me. You don't love me. And you're not my mom. Get out of here." I remember telling her that.
What did her face look like when you were being that real with her?
She was being like she had been defeated. She just kept crying. And then I remember getting pulled into a room and grandma was there. And then the police talking to me. And I remember mom telling me not to talk or say anything. She was getting me an attorney. That's really all that I remember.
So mom, grandma were in the same room with you when they were trying to interrogate you?
Yes,
And were you scared at the time? Were you like freaking out?
absolutely. I was terrified because I didn't mean to do what I'd done. You
Right.
know, that was not my, I didn't set out to do that. I didn't mean for that to happen. I was trying to get the car keys, and I just panicked. You know, that is not how that I didn't go there with the intent to kill her. I didn't go there in the intent for that. I went there just to get somebody to get me a ride, and it went from there.
Right.
When you watch TV and you get little ideals thinking about TV, and that's just what clicked in my head. When I was a kid, I was stupid, you know,
I've
and I
definitely been in those situations where you make things worse when they don't have to be worse because it's all in your head. You're thinking that you have no choice.
absolutely. I wish I could take that day back every day of my life because that's not who I am today, Karl, and I have to live with that burden on my heart. I changed everybody's life.
Hmm.
I changed her family's life. I've changed her grandkids' life. I've changed your guys' life. Some things I feel like would have been different for you guys if I would have been in your life. I feel a lot of responsibility for a lot of things because of what I had done.
So what were the next few days like after you first got charged? And like,
Scary because I wasn't, you don't understand when you're that young, Karl, and the whole ramifications were different than the whole procedure when I had got locked up before. So I'm in my head, I'm thinking I'm getting out because they always let me out. You know what I mean?
hmm,
So when I would get in trouble, but
yeah, you do your
it wasn't
time and
that
then
way,
you get to go home.
right? And it wasn't like that anymore. And to see Dad's face, because Dad's face was so different than it was any other time I got locked up. I could see the fear in his eyes. You know,
Hmm.
I think that was the hardest thing to see that in the pain in his eyes.
Dad was always like really expressional like that too. You could tell when Dad was mad, and you can tell when Dad was sad, and you could just tell when he was like feeling emotions because it was all over his face.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I got all his facial expressions, but it was that was challenging because I spent 2 years in jail.
Hmm.
And my first year in jail, when I got waived to adult court, I spent 6.5 months, I believe, at the detention center, and then they waived me to an adult court, and I had to go to jail.
Right.
And that
What
was
was
an
what was that
experience.
experience like going to like an adult jail? As a kid, you were a
Oh,
kid.
it
You
was
were like
scary.
14 years old.
Yeah, it was scary. It was very scary.
It wasn't like the
But they
juvenile
put me in a
places.
cell they put me in a cell by myself. And then I got put in with the women when it got overcrowded in the jail. And that was scary because it was not the same type of age range
Right.
from when you get locked up in the detention center.
And I'm sure there's
So
people
you
in there with some real fucking issues, and you're just like, holy shit, I'm a fucking kid.
absolutely, and that was very scary for me. But I learned that I could use my size and my voice
To
to
like protect
defend
yourself
myself.
and
Like,
keep like a bubble around you so people don't fuck with you.
right. But
So
I mean, what do you have? What
what?
do you have in common? You're freaking 14 years old. I think I had turned 15. When I got put in with the women.
Hmm.
What do you have in common with a grown ass woman that had kids, had a household, had a life? Shit, all I had was a mountain bike and brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? So the dialogue was different, but I learned to
Adapt.
lie and make up stories to feel like I fit in and feel like so I can be a part of the conversation.
Right. Ugh, that's intense. Like I remember you like coming home, or not coming home, but calling home and learning about it for the first time, and I was like in shock.
I
Like,
know
do you remember talking to
you
me the
took it
first
really
time?
hard. And I don't want to remember that because I heard you cry in a way that I had never heard you cry. You were very upset. You were scared.
It was a scary time. When did your mind like realize that it was a big deal? Like, shit, I might not ever go home.
When I went to trial,
When you went to trial?
yeah, and then they showed the pictures of what happened, and I didn't know that I had what I had truly done.
Right.
Does that make sense? I didn't understand what I had truly done.
Right. Because sometimes, like, especially when I was young, I remember just like making up like fake scenarios in my head, like trying to be somewhere else, So I'd always been able to like create this like false reality around me, So things don't set
Yeah,
in, things don't set in normally like they do for other people.
no, like we don't have the same. I know I'm not going to speak for you. I know I don't have the same type of reaction like a normal person would that grew up normal. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Like you have to create some other place to be other than the place that you're in when it's that bad.
And that's what I did.
So you're in court and you're seeing all the pictures and all that, and we're there from time to time. I think Mom went pretty much every time, right?
Mom and Dad did.
And do you think like the court system like had a bias on you from not only being black, but from your criminal record beforehand, so they just kind of like threw the book at you?
Yeah, I feel like they had me portrayed as if I was this monster.
Hmm.
Like I really had that intent to do what I did, and they used my juvenile record against me, which they shouldn't have did that, but
Well, not if you're
that
being
didn't help.
trialed as an adult. They should definitely not have done that.
No, but they did. They went out and celebrated my verdict after it was read.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, the judge and the victim's family and the court reporter went to the bar and celebrated me getting found guilty.
So, do you think that that kids that like us, because I'm sure this happens like all over the country, but do you think that kids like us have a chance?
No, I don't even feel like the Child Protective Services to this day really helps people like us, kids. You know what I mean? To
Right.
remove them from the home, because you're being beat like that, and they're telling you that, and you have schools calling you, telling you about the marks that these kids that we had on us, and they did nothing but send us back home.
That's so true.
So I don't feel like the system or anything that they tell society that it's designed for, it goes that way because they don't care what happens in the home.
So, do you think it's on the people that are talking to us, like the counselors and all that, or do you think it's on the state that the power that they give those counselors to help kids like us?
No, I don't think that, Carl. I don't feel that way at all. I feel like they're just reading things out of a book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not really trying to help people
Like, because they've never been in the
because
situation, so they can't
yes,
understand.
if that was the case, they would have helped us when we cried out for help.
Right.
I remember Mom locking me out when it was freezing cold and I didn't have no shoes on. I had a tube top on and some shorts. And she locked me out of the house and wouldn't let me back in, and it was freezing cold outside.
Stuff like that
I
happened
remember
all the
her
time.
beating. Yeah, I remember her beating me with the fire shovel when we lived on Delaware. She beat me so bad I had to piss and shit on the couch. My body locked on me. You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that. I'm glad I don't remember that.
Yeah, she beat me so bad with that fire shovel.
God, being a kid in that household was just an awful situation. And I don't think anybody that will ever understand what it was like for us as kids.
You know, but I try to forgive Mom. And forgiveness is, you have to forgive. Like, what I did was horrible and life changing. I can never, ever bring her back.
Mm-hmm.
And I can never give that family that peace of mind in their soul. You know, I took a lot from them. And I took a lot from you guys, you know.
Do you think that
So,
we expect for people to understand, even though that we know that they're not understanding? Do you think, because we're like reaching out for help, we're like, someone please help me, and we're like expecting them to understand what we're going through, but they don't understand. So do you think that's kind of the letdown there?
yeah, absolutely it is. But you can't make somebody understand something that they've never experienced.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can have empathy and be like, God, if I don't know what I would do, you know, if I grew up that way or went through some of the stuff that you went through, you know. But we at the time expected them to help us,
Right.
and we didn't get that.
No, we didn't. But
But
we're at a good place right now.
yeah, and I try to forgive Mom, you know, and that's the only mom we got is her. I mean, we can't choose our parent, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to learn to meet her where she's at, and understand who she is, like, and learn to have boundaries with her, and not allow her to talk to me the way that she talks.
Well, you know how I am. I just don't talk to her.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be that way. She ain't gonna be here forever. You would think that some things would change, and she would be a little bit more compassionate and apologize to us for what's happened, instead of telling us that we made things up or we're exaggerating the situation, because me and you ain't seeing, we know what we went through.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one of us making up the story or saying this. You know.
Absolutely.
So she's got to come to terms for what she's done to us, and just tell us that she's sorry and that she loves us and treat us better.
Okay, so
Not say I wish all my kids are no good. All my kids have been in trouble. I wish they were never born. I wish this, and say hateful stuff, you know, and say it doesn't matter what other people say about us. She should worry about how she treated us.
Hmm. And how she continues to treat us. She
Yeah,
needs
but
she needs to learn from her mistakes and grow and not stay in that same bubble.
in her mind, though, I believe she really feels that she is in the right at all times, and nothing that she does is, or how she says something is wrong. That she's justified for what she said. Does
Hmm.
that make sense?
Oh yeah, it's definitely learned. Like I think I got a little bit of that in me as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to you being in court and you hearing the guilty verdict for the first time. Like what was going through your mind?
I remember crying, and I turned and looked back at you guys,
I remember
and
that.
I was still thinking that they could get me home. Like help me.
Do you think that Alfredo did a good job?
No, I don't think. I think he did it for publicity. Um, I remember after my verdict was read, the jurors had said, had I testified, I wouldn't have been found guilty of first degree murder. I would have found guilty of second degree murder.
Hmm.
And I sent him that article, what the jurors had said.
And what did he say? Oh, Alfredo was your
I,
attorney, so I guess we should
yeah,
mention that.
Alfredo never responded to it. Never said nothing.
Did you hear from him after that guilty verdict?
Nope, I didn't even hear from him, and he never came to visit me there. and he kept filing stuff in my name, and never once came to visit me. Now, grant you, I wasn't understanding the whole ramifications of an adult trial at that time,
Hmm.
so I'm not understanding still what was going on. As the years went by and I got older and speaking to people about what happened, he didn't do nothing for me but rack up my restitution and what I'm still paying on to this day.
Yeah, I just remember mom being really upset with him all the time because she didn't feel like he was fighting for you.
He didn't. It was all for publicity.
Because it was a big case. Like it
For,
was everywhere.
yeah, he didn't represent to help me.
Just for the
But thinking
publicity.
on it, huh?
I said just for the publicity.
Yes, that's all it was. I was just another dollar to him.
Hmm. So after you hear that, and of course we're all upset, and you're looking around the courtroom, and then they take you back to jail. Like, what were you thinking when the first time you had to go back to jail, knowing that you got found guilty?
That I wasn't coming home.
Were you okay with
I just
that, or
remember
had you
crying.
already made peace with that?
No, I didn't make peace with that. I wasn't coming home for a few years.
So was it like days or weeks that you just like that it took you to like wrap your head around it?
It was a long time. Even after I got sentenced, I still couldn't wrap my head around it. And I spent 2 years in jail because after they went and celebrated my verdict, my judge had to recuse himself, and I had to get a different judge from Davenport to sentence me.
Hmm. So what was it like when you left the jail and went to like an actual prison? Like what was that whole process? Do you remember like getting in the bus thing or anything like that?
Yeah, they handcuffed and shackled you, belly chain you, and they drove me to Mitchellville. And I didn't know what to expect. So I was like, I thought it was going to be like TV. And when mom would tell me I was going to prison one day. Because
Hmm.
remember, mom would always call me a whore. She'd tell me I'm going to
Yes.
prison and bitches were going to shove pop bottles up my pussy. So that's what I was thinking was going to happen to me.
You know, it actually took me a while to understand what mom was saying because I was a kid. So when she would say shit like that, I'm just like, "What are you saying, lady?" But
Yeah. Do you remember her saying that to me?
I do, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you walk off the van. You're there at Mitchellville. Like, what is the first thing that happens afterwards?
They took you to this house and they removed your belly chain at this house and your shackles, but they still kept your handcuffs on in the box. And then you had to wait for a different van to come pick you up from this house at the time and transport you to this building. And we walked into this building, and that's when I first had to be strip searched. And I started crying because I wasn't used to being strip searched like that, because they didn't strip search me in jail.
How old were you at the time?
I was 17.
You're 17. So you'd already been
Yeah.
in the regular jail system for about 3 years.
No, because when my charge happened in June when I was 14, and my birthday's July, so I was turning 15.
Okay, so about 2 years then you'd been in there.
Yeah, I spent 2 years in jail.
Okay, so they strip search you, and then what happens after that?
They give you state clothes to put on, and then they assign you what room you're going into, and you had to go up to your room. I just remember that, and I remember, like, I didn't know, because the orientation, you're just there with people that came from jail. You don't go straight out to general population then.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know what to expect.
What was your first time like being when you first walked into the general population?
Oh, God, Karl, I can't even really remember that. I blocked a lot of stuff out there. I just know people running up to me saying that they had stuff for me, and it was going to be okay. And once I realized it wasn't like what Mom said it was,
Mm-hmm.
I calmed down and tried to make friends there.
How long did it take you to feel comfortable to start making friends and like tell your story and stuff?
Oh, God, it took years. I didn't even accept what I had done. So I would make up stories about my charge, because it was easier for me to deal with it, I didn't fully start talking about my crime and accept what I had done probably about 10 years ago.
So, just for whoever is listening, we've never had this conversation before, have we? We've never talked about any of this.
No, I couldn't talk to you about it because I felt ashamed for what I did.
Right.
No.
Okay, so you're there. You get to smoke cigarettes, right? Or you weren't even old enough to smoke cigarettes. Did they let you smoke?
No, Karl, I've been smoking since I was 9. I was still Mom's cigarettes, Dad's cigarettes.
Did they let you smoke there when you first went in there?
No, I couldn't smoke. I got a major the first day there for smoking because I was under 18, and I told them you can give me a life sentence, but I can't smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, what kind of sense does that make?
It made no sense. So I got a major my first day there. The officers used to watch me from the units to make sure I wasn't smoking because they want to write me up.
They were looking for you, huh?
Yep.
Okay, so you're there in the prison, and I know that it had to have been like so scary and like how alone you must have felt because we've all been there. I've been there, like just with our family situations, like how lonely our family made us feel. But then you're there and you still want to talk to us at home. And I remember you calling all the time. And I remember Mom bitching about the phone bill all the time, but every time you call, I'd accept it, and we'd talk for as long as we could.
I just wanted to make sure you were okay. I knew you was getting picked on for what I had done. And I felt so bad for what you was going through, and there was nothing I could do to help you because I was so used to protecting you, and I couldn't protect you no more. Yeah. That was the worst feeling in the world.
I think it was really hard for me, like when I was younger, especially because when this happened, you're right, like people all over the town were talking. This was a really big deal. Like it was a really big case and everybody knew about it. So yeah, it was hard to like grow up without you. And you were there like before that, so it was weird.
No. I felt like a piece of shit all the years that I couldn't do nothing to help you. But you just got to accept it, and you have to find a way to live and go on. and it was hard. It's like I had to decide what world I was going to live in because I was straddling both worlds, the free world and there, and I had to learn to let it go.
You had to
and just
learn to let go of the free world.
Yes, I had to learn to let go and live and accept that I was going to die in prison.
On part 2 of my interview with Ruthann, we will be talking about what it was like to learn that her life sentence was overturned, what it's like to navigate in life, the real world, 27 years later, and who Ruthann is as a person today. So stay tuned to Live to Tell.
A tale